Being from the Jewish tradition, I usually use my hands, so hopefully I can restrain at least one of them. And I'll try to cover everything that I'd love to cover, and if I can't, hopefully we'll cover it in the question and answer period. So from the Jewish perspective, the world is a bountiful and yet a fragile place, and human beings have a very special role and responsibility to maintain and protect this space. The Torah, the Jewish Bible, and the Midrash, the compilation of various rabbinic commentaries that have been developed over the last 2,000 years and are continuing to be written today, provide us with an understanding of how the Creator expects us to live in this world, including with regard to the environment. So it starts in the beginning, of course, in Genesis, with the creation of the universe and the creation of the world, and of course the introduction of human beings. And indeed, the book of Genesis provides two different stories about creation, and I want to talk about them briefly so you can see how sustainability perhaps is described differently, but is laying a foundation. So in the first chapter of Genesis, after the water and the land and the plants and the animals were created out of the Word, the first man and woman were created, and they were told, "Behold, be fruitful, and multiply and replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion over all plants and animals." It goes on to say, "Behold, I have given you every herb yielding seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree, in which is the fruit of a tree yielding a seed. So it shall be for your food. And to every beast of the earth, and every fowl of the air, and to everything that creeps upon the earth, wherein there is a living soul, I have given every green herb for food." And it was so. So that's how the first telling of the story of creation unfolds. And then we go on to chapter 2, and it retells the same story, but from a slightly different perspective and portrayal. And here, Hashem, or the Creator, has formed man out of the dust of the ground and breathed into him the breath of life, and so man became a living soul. So Adam became the first human being, and indeed the name Adam in Hebrew comes from the word Adamah, which is earth or soil. So literally, Adam is of the earth. Perhaps instead of man, we should be called earthlings, as one way to think of it. And indeed, the name human, not my last name, but the name human, H-U-M-A-N, comes from the Greek humus, which means earth or soil. So both traditions there have a same kind of fundamental origin or root. We are of this earth. We are of the soil in which we inhabit. Also in the second chapter of Genesis, Adonai, or Hashem, shows Adam all that has been created in the garden, and also gives human beings the task of le'ovdah ul shemorah, and that means to work and protect. It also means to till and to tend, and to serve and preserve the earth. So we're given an assignment right away from God as to what to do with this gift that has been given to us, that has been laid before us. And we're supposed to do this for all the earth and all the life forms that have been created. So these interpretations from the second chapter of Genesis kind of fit very well with the contemporary sense of sustainability and sustainable development. There's work to be done. And indeed, working the land was crucial for human beings back in those days in order for them to flourish. But guarding and preserving the earth was also a critical component so that the earth would be sustained and so that it would be cared for and continue to produce for humans and for other life forms. So, there's an early commentary that is not in the Bible but is reflecting on the Bible. And it says, when Hashem created Adam, he took him and led him and showed him all the trees and the plants of the garden, and said to him, "Behold my works, how beautiful they are. All that I have created is within your domain. But take care, therefore, and not to destroy my world, for if you do, there will be no one else behind you to set it right." which again kind of lays down the gauntlet that it is up to us to care for and protect. So dominion over doesn't mean the right to destroy or the right to dominate, but rather it's a responsibility for nurturing, for caring, and continuing it on. So that's kind of the basic background, that we have to work the land and we also have to protect the land to make it a better place. And indeed, that's part of the core value of Judaism, of improving the world. It's called tikkun olam, to heal the earth, which is a major tenet and an effort for almost all Jewish communities and all Jewish people. And in this sense, it is the responsibility of the individual, and each individual, and it is also the responsibility of the community together as all of us to take on this task and protect the environment that we've been given. Indeed, there is a statement from another commentary, Rabbi Tarfon Omer, who says in Hebrew, Lo alecha hamlecha ligmor, velo ata bein chorein libnei tal mimna, which says, it is not your responsibility to complete the task, but neither are you free to desist from it. And by that, we're not alone in our efforts to work on the task. And we may not be held responsible for completing it, but we need to be engaged in doing it. And in doing this, we're not alone. We're in a community of people who are all working towards the same goal, I hope. And from the second part of it, neither are you free to desist from it, implores us to do our part. Even though we're part of a greater team, a greater whole working on it, we can't shirk our responsibility and let others do the work for us. We need to be consciously taking part in what it is that we're doing. So these are some of the core foundations, and there's other mentions in Deuteronomy, in Isaiah, and in Leviticus that talk about this. Leviticus talks about giving the earth a rest, a jubilee year every 50 years, so that the earth can regenerate itself, so that farmers who till the soil or have animals grazing on the grass should rotate it out and let it rest. That concept for sustainability is there as well. In Deuteronomy, which forms the second chapter or the second paragraph of the Shema, the holiest prayer in Judaism, which says that God is one and essentially we are all one as well, the second paragraph goes on to say that God tells us that we are to love and serve the Creator and all the creation with all of our heart and all of our soul, and in doing so we're to follow the commandments. And if we do this, then we will have water in its season, and we'll have our crops, and we'll have our animals, and everything will be hunky-dory. However, beware, because if we turn away from the Creator and the commandments and the laws, then heaven will close up, and the rains will not come where they're needed and when they're needed, and the ground will not give us its produce, and we will perish from the good earth that we have been given. So another allegory where it tells that this is something that we have to do. So these are core factors for us. Justice fits into this, because that was part of what you asked us to talk about, and I'll try to wind up really quickly so I don't dominate the whole evening. But in justice, we are to pursue justice as one of the highest priorities and values in all aspects of our lives. And it talks about it in a number of places in the Torah as it relates to the environment. For example, in Deuteronomy, we are told not to harvest from the corners of our fields or to take the gleanings if you are the farmer, but rather these are to be left for the stranger, for the orphan, and for the widow. So the sense of that all that the earth has produced, it's not just for the farmer to take, but it is for others as well. And there are others, places where we're told to share our bounty. And so anyway, this is pretty much the way it goes, and I think that you can understand it. So this brings us up to today. This is all the biblical setting. So when I was thinking about this, I thought it would be totally impossible for the leaders, the thinkers, the everyday citizens back in the biblical times, or even in the millennia that have unfolded towards today, to really grasp the changes that have taken place in our earth, and would be very surprised to see the conditions that we find ourselves in, where air pollution can get so bad in some places as to make children sick with asthma, or adults with emphysema, or where water contamination from industrial pollution and agricultural runoff, or from large-scale animal feeding lots, renders water oftentimes now undrinkable, that we can allow that to happen. with also the rapid extinction of so many animal species under our watch on the Earth, or the fact that the climate is beginning to make great changes and cause great imbalances in the world, the outcomes of which we can't even begin to predict yet. What this then says in our Judaism, for me anyway, is that individual acts that make up my lifestyle have to work to heal the earth. That what I have to do is everything in my power in the way that I live my life. I can't withdraw from the world, from work, from living, and everything else, but the way I live my life has to help bring the world back into balance. And if there's time, or maybe we can come back to it, I can talk about ways in which we are doing that. But at that point, is that okay for me to stop here? All right. And we're... Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And we'll just take a moment to savor what Michael said and ponder something that he said that might have struck you in a significant way.